So you got your camera, your crew, and a killer concept ready to shoot. But before you hit record, let me ask you, are you sure you're not about to break the law? You heard me right. Filmmaking might sound glamorous, but if you're not careful, you could be in for more than just a bad take. You could end up in handcuffs. Stick around because this is one you don't want to miss. Today we are diving into how filmmaking could actually get you arrested. No, this isn't a movie plot twist. Let's talk about permits, drones, and other legal landmines. Alright, filmmakers, here's the deal. As much as we'd love to believe that we can just roll up to any location and start shooting, the real world doesn't work like that. From public spaces to flying drones, there are laws in place that, if ignored, could land you in some serious hot water. So let's break down the ways your dream project could become a legal nightmare. I know, getting permit sounds like a hassle, but here's the thing. If you are filming in a public space, especially in major cities like Mumbai or Bangalore or in New York or Los Angeles, you need a permit. No permit, that's illegal filming. And trust me, the cops will shut you down faster than you say action. You might think, oh, I'll just shoot guerrilla style, but that could lead to hefty fines, confiscated equipment, or even worse, arrest. In a place like Mud Island, where shoot happens almost at every moment, every day, you take a camera out on the road without a permission, a BMC permission or a police station permission, or the permissions that you require and the permits that you require, they will come and they'll just pick up the camera and leave, and that's it. For you to get that equipment back, it's few hours of negotiating and paying hefty fines and all of that. By the time your entire day is gone, all that planning that you had for shooting for the day, it's completely gone. And trust me, as rookie filmmakers, we often do that. I've done it. I've got my cameras are confiscated. I've had my drones taken. So you need to get those permissions in place to avoid the last minute tension that you would, all that hassle and tension, and because everything it's going to shift your entire creativity to managing your stress levels, right? It's going to become about managing your stress levels than creativity, and you should rather get that fixed way before you shoot than going there and facing. Imagine wrapping up your shoot only to get served with a fine for thousands of dollars. Yikes, right? If you're shooting in national parks, historical landmarks, or even crowded city streets, you'll need proper authorization. Always check local laws before you start filming, especially if you're using bigger cameras. Here's another big one, drones. Sure, those sweeping aerial shots look amazing, but using drones in unauthorized areas can land you in serious trouble. In many places, flying a drone without permission is illegal. You could be violating airspace laws, endangering public safety, or even flying over private property. In India, if you fly anywhere near government restricted areas, Navy or Army areas, you will be arrested. There is going to be a legal implication on you, or they will confiscate your equipment. You are not allowed to fly beyond a certain height. For example, in Delhi, there is a lot of places you cannot fly drones. You need to find out if you are allowed to do that before you take the drone out there. Same thing with, there are endangered areas, there is Navy restricted areas where you need to find out the laws of flying a drone over there before you actually take off. In some countries, flying a drone without a proper licensing can result in steep fines or even arrest. For example, in the US, you need to follow FAA regulation, and flying drones over restricted areas like airports, government buildings, or national parks could lead to legal action. And yes, people have been arrested for drone violations. If you're going to use drones, make sure you've got all your legal ducks in a row. Next up, trespassing. It's simple. If you don't have permission to film on a private property, you are trespassing. And that's illegal. I know abandoned warehouses and old buildings might look cool on camera, but if you're caught shooting without permission, you could be charged with trespassing or worse, breaking and entering. Breaking and entering, yes, that's not just in the West, even in India. You can't just go and shoot in somebody else's property. Now, there are people who could choose to call the cops and get you arrested. That's one set of problems that you might face and get into trouble like that. The other one is the harassments. The local people could come and harass you if you don't have permission to shoot there. They could come in groups and large, and the mobs, you can't manage those mobs if you're just gonna, especially if you're taking a crew and cast and going there and dealing with these people, and some of them will not be kind in dealing with you, right? And you need to be extremely cautious. Yes, with the creative spirit that we have, we feel that, there is an abandoned building, okay, we'll just go there and shoot. Be very sure that it does not have such implications. You don't want to be getting into a fist fight, nor do you want to end up in a jail when you are going to be shooting in places that you don't know. Do a recce, so scout that area, find out, is this something that you could do? Just get an understanding if you know the owner, or find out if there is, take permissions and then just go and shoot there. If he's asking for money, pay it. Just make your life so much easier so that you don't have to be dealing with that while you are creatively engaged and trying to achieve your vision. Trespassing isn't just about getting kicked off the property. You could face legal consequences ranging from fines to jail time also. Depending on the severity, always get permission from the property owner. And if you are renting a location, get it in writing. That's another thing. What happens is, especially people who are not used to production, they could change their mind, right? You've gone there thinking, okay, he has given me a verbal permission, I could just go and shoot there. If it is a professional shoot, make sure that you've taken it in writing, right? Because what happens is, they could just change their mind and say, yeah, I told you, but then now I don't want you to. Well, you'll have to leave and you'll have to reschedule it, because if you go and continue to shoot there, that's going to create a problem. Or people say yes to it because they think that they are going to be entertained in various ways that you don't want to entertain them. Or they could just come in and say, can you give me a role? So make sure that, the understanding is very clear. Listen, I'm going to shoot at your place from this time to this time, but make sure that he or she does not interrupt. About people who change their mind, when you have a written contract or a written understanding with each other, they'll call you and inform you, right? Because they know that a part of that contract or part of that writing, you can mention that needs to be informed at least 48 hours prior to the shoot or something like that, so that, it protects you, right? You don't have to wait for the shoot day to cancel it. Now let's talk about privacy. Filming people without their consent, especially in private spaces, can get you into serious trouble. In many countries, filming individuals without permission in places where they have a reasonable expectation of privacy, like their home, is a violation of privacy laws. Especially for the ones who do travel vlogs and travel film. There are a lot of countries you can't just take the camera and shoot them. And don't think you're in the clear just because you're in a public space. If you're going to use people's faces in your film, especially in close-ups, it's good practice to get release forms signed. Avoid the legal drama and get consent every time. The people who are not professional actors, when you hire them, make sure that you have written permission. You have the release form signed, because tomorrow they could just come up and say, listen, how could you put this here? They could demand for things that could create a lot of legal hassle. Get the release form signed way before you shoot and secure yourself from another set of problems that is post the shooting. Then we have the big no-go zones, sensitive and restricted areas. Think government buildings, military bases and airports. Filming in these places without permission can get you arrested quick. Okay, before the blink of the eye, they'll come and arrest you. Why? It's a matter of national security. If you're caught filming in these restricted zones, your footage might not just get confiscated, you could be detained and questioned. And trust me, you don't want to be going through that. Sensitive areas like embassies, military installations, marine area, or even certain cultural landmarks are off limits unless you got clearance in a clear document. Always double check before you point that camera. Some places just won't ask you to leave, they'll press charges. Straightforward. And finally, disturbing the peace. Filmmaking can be loud. Think explosions, loud dialogue, or even just the bustle of a large crew. If you're making a lot of noise in a public space or blocking streets, you could get charged with disturbing the peace, which could lead to fines, shutdowns, or you guessed it, arrest. You might have permission in a society to shoot there, but if you are going to create a huge mess, if you're going to create loud noises and trouble the passerbys, or you're blocking roads, or if you're being extremely loud on shoot, yes, if the neighbors complain or if multiple people come and complain to the society could come up and say, yes, I gave you permission, now you don't have it, right? Because you're just too loud. Similarly, if you're blocking roads or parking areas, which could create problems for others. So the best way to mitigate this is to ensure that you tell them the areas that you are going to use, the kind of shots that you're going to take, and if it has potential to be loud, you let them know beforehand so that the people are informed prior to the shoot, and if there is any objection that you can handle before. And talk about this categorically, because once you go there, and because you might think that, okay, listen, I have taken the permission and you could do it. Fighting over there will not help. It's just going to eat your production time. And again, it's going to take you off your creative space and get into a very stressful state, which you don't want to be in. Always check local ordinances about noise and public space usage. In some cities, you might need a noise permit, especially if you're planning to shoot late at night. Don't let noise complaints shut down your project. So there you have it. The many ways filmmaking could get you arrested if you're not careful. From flying drones to trespassing to filming in restricted areas. The rules are there for a reason. Filmmaking is a blast, but it's also a responsibility. Respect the rules, get the permits, and make sure your dream project doesn't turn into a legal nightmare. If this video saved you from a future arrest, give it a thumbs up, share it with your fellow filmmakers, and subscribe for more tips on how to make amazing films legally. Drop your wildest film permit story in the comments below. I'd love to hear it. Until next time, keep creating, keep filming, and stay out of jail. See you in the next one.